I've been working on reducing the dust in the shop. A few weeks ago I installed an air filter to manage the airborne dust. Last week I built the Downdraft sanding station to help reduce the dust further. This week I bought the Festool ETS 125 sander because it has a reputation for doing a great job with dust collection. I didn't buy the Festool dust extraction system because that's way more than I want to spend on a vacuum. The new sander will be connected to the shop vac cart. And I found a hose on Amazon that is a close approximation to the Festool hose, that also included a few adapters. This one seems to fit the sander just fine. I've always wanted a Festool sander, and I have a few other of their products on my wish list, but their tools are generally too expensive for my budget. This ETS model though is a little more on the affordable side. It is more expensive than most sanders, but it's the most reasonably priced Festool product, and I wanted to see if it lived up to its reputation. When it arrived in the mail, I was pretty excited to get it open. Festool does make a nice looking product. This is the new Festool Sustainer. The latch is on the front now, rather than on the sides. It has a handle on the top so you can move it around easily, and one on the side so you can carry it wherever you might need to carry it. The sander has a detachable guard that helps protect the edge of the paper from bumping into anything, and if you find that to be in the way, then it just slides off. There's a dial here on the side that controls the speed, and it has 6 different settings. Even on the highest setting though, the sander is quiet compared to many other sanders that I've used. The manual says it's 84 decibels without load. I generally have headphones on when I'm in the shop, so the noise is not an issue for me, but I would always welcome a quiet machine. One of the best features of this sander is how smooth it runs. You really don't have to fight it to keep it where you want it. Some random orbital sanders can be more challenging to control precisely. This one's nice and smooth, so sanding for long periods will be much easier on your hand and arm. The weight of this machine is another factor that reduces fatigue when sanding. This is only about 2.5 pounds. So when you're sanding edges and corners and moving the sander around a lot, you're going to notice that lack of weight. I have heard that this sander doesn't leave the little swirls that you'll sometimes get with other sanders. So I've been doing some sanding on various different materials to see if it'll leave those swirls or not. My old sander sure did leave those swirls, but so far I haven't found any swirls when using the Festool. On the negative side, Festool uses a different hole pattern than most sanders. So if you already have some of the 8 hole laying around, then you're not going to get the benefit of the dust collection built into the sander. You can still use the paper, but since the holes don't line up, then the dust collection is no good. This unit comes with a small dust collection bag, and the bag has a good system for emptying the dust. When you remove the bag, a small flap closes the hole so the dust doesn't spill out all over the place. And then you can flip up this cover and dump out the dust. I won't really be using the bag though. I'm going to have it hooked up to the shop vac, and I'll do most of my sanding at the sanding station. I hope those two things combined will take care of most of the dust caused while sanding. I did a bit of sanding with the downdraft table on and the sander hooked up to the shop vac, and there was very little dust left on the table. Compare that to sanding with all the dust collection turned off, and there's a lot more dust remaining. This new setup is really going to make a difference in the air quality in the shop. Now this sanding area is still missing something though. I need a place to put the sander, and a number of other things that will live at the sanding station. So I'm going to add some French cleats to the wall above the downdraft table. I still have some left over from the main French cleat wall, so all I have to do is cut them to length and attach them to the wall. Just like on the main cleat wall, I'll countersink with some screws and check it for level, and then add the rest of the screws. Then I grab a scrap piece of wood to use as a spacer, and then add 2 more cleats to the wall. Some people like to leave the screws visible, but I prefer to hide them. So I added a bit of wood filler and waited for it to dry. Then sanded it smooth and touched up the paint. While the paint was drying, I put together a little holder for the sander. I cut out a piece of scrap plywood to just over the size of the sanding wheel. This will be for the bottom, or it would be if it didn't come apart. It looks like this section of the plywood sheet didn't get enough glue at the manufacturer. So I guess I'll mark out another piece and cut it again. I also cut a thin strip for the front of the holder. From this angle it looks like that clamp is closer to the blade than it did from behind the saw. This is the benefit of the crosscut sled. I don't know of many other safe ways to cut such a small piece lengthwise. Having the clamps to hold it all down allows me to keep my fingers away from the spinning blade. Now I just need to cut a couple of pieces for the sides. And then one for the back from this scrap of 1/4-inch plywood that was used for the drawer bottoms on the Downdraft table. I'm only using brad nails to put this one together. I'm going to skip the glue because I may decide to try a different design later. But for now, I can just add a cleat to the back of this and then hang it on the wall. My sanding station is almost done. At least the dust collection part is done. I'm still going to add some more storage above the sanding table, and I have some plans for organizing the drawers as well. But that'll have to wait till later. So is this sander worth the extra money? I can only answer that for me. Some others may not agree. But after only a few days with the sander, I'd make the same decision again. I'd buy the Festool. It's really nice to have a high quality tool, especially when the tool does a job that I do often. Sanding is something most woodworkers do a lot of, and with this sander being lighter than most, smoother than most, and having better dust collection than most, I think it's a good investment to get a more expensive tool for this job. Click here to see how I built the Downdraft table.